Hello, what the flaggers. We are back for another episode.
So QM had their first well, it's first ever, I think, first ever in history final game. So a couple of years ago we got relegated to Div 2. It was a really bad season for like recruitment. And when you're just trying to keep the morale high and make sure that you kind of have a team towards the end of the season. And then last season, we thought we were really gonna challenge for the title, but Kingston was the team that got promoted over us. But we managed to get to the second stage playoff games, which again was like a first in history. And then this season, we were really like blessed with some players that just showed some great commitment to the team. We got a few rugby players as well, which is always helpful, especially on like defense when you need, good tacklers. And we were lucky enough to not only minus our first game, go undefeated for the rest of the season. We also won both playoff games, and we were awarded home games because we were the second seed. And then we got to play UE2s in Bristol on Sunday, which was a really good game. The wind was diabolical, which meant the passing game was just non-existent. And we got to the final. It was such a great game, such a well fought game as well. It was 0-0 until and not in the figurative way, like literally 0-0 until about 3 minutes into the fourth quarter. It was a really good game. Unfortunately, we didn't come home with the win, but to come home with a Bucks medal is a Vipers first, and I'll be biased and say I was just so incredibly proud of the O-line unit. I thought they did amazingly well. Obviously, there were other units that shone, but those coaches can go on their own podcast and talk about that. But no, the O-line did so well. I was so proud of them, and yeah, now just really looking forward to end of season because I'm bidding for a lot of my linemen to be getting all of the awards this year. But yeah, it was really great.
How much sway do you have on the awards that are given?
I wouldn't say it's sway. It's more like I don't think a lot of the coaches like arguing with me, so usually I'll just win.
That's sway. That's sway. But yeah,
Sounds like a
valid.
win.
So yeah, I'm looking for three out of the eight awards I'm looking for.
Oh,
I don't think
nice.
it's fair. There's five
That's
for
a fair.
others.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
spread around.
Yeah.
And there would be no game without the O-line. No passing game, no running game.
Well,
So,
this is it.
but
And we even had one of our players, I kid you not, went because he didn't know we were gonna obviously make it to finals, didn't anticipate it was gonna be on Easter Sunday. He booked a trip to Amsterdam. He changed his flight to fly back into Bristol Airport, got an Uber and warmed up in half time so he could play like straight off the plane in the second half. Like you just don't get commitment like that. They're like, that's crazy. I was like, wow. I was like, there's some people who like play for teams and still wouldn't do that. Like that's yeah, hats off to them.
I mean, I'm asking why he didn't think you get to finals in the first place, but hey, maybe I'm just being anti.
Um, I think it's because no one actually anticipated it'd be on Easter Sunday.
Oh, it's
So
the date. It's not
yeah,
that
it
he, yeah,
wasn't like, oh,
yeah.
we're not going to get there because I think
Okay.
after last year, he was a rookie, so the team had been talked up. Like we've got a chance this year. I think it was just more that he didn't anticipate that they'd be like, oh, we've got a game
Yeah.
on Easter
That
Sunday.
that that is a bit weird from Bucks, but I
Yeah,
guess it's
you know.
yeah, scheduling.
Yeah, at Bucks scheduling.
The gift, the
well,
gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there was a few things that were scheduled on Easter Sunday. Kenny, your camp was one of those things. That was another 4-day camp for Team Spain. So how did it go with the farm?
Another, it was the first camp that we've had, but it was great to get the squad back together. I say some of the players are still um, on a different kind of international duty. We're missing some players who are studying like in Mexico and USA. But great to get everyone back together. It's the first proper camp we've had since we did a tournament earlier in February, but it was good to get everyone back together, kind of dust off the cobwebs a bit because I think for everyone, it's the standard of play you get at camps, international camps in particular, for the elite team is probably not very common. So it was good for the girls to, as I said, like brush themselves down, shake off some of the rust and get back into some fierce competition. So especially we realized that if Team Spain is to qualify for the Olympics this year, it looks like that. I mean, the road definitely goes through USA, but also potentially Mexico, depending on standings and seedings in the group stages. So, I mean, you compete to play against the best, right? So, what a journey it could be. But
As
we'll
a
see.
coach
We'll
right
see.
now, what like knowing that that's the route to where you want to go, like how are you feeling about it now?
Uh, it's me, innit? Always optimistic, always quietly confident, always um I mean we have no reason to play not to lose. Does that make sense? Like
Hmm.
we'll be playing to win. So I think that's always an advantageous place to be in. I think it's always good to know that we can bring the wow factor. And that's my thing. My thing is more like I just want us to play at the very least from an offensive standpoint. I want us to play the kind of football that people want to come and watch, you know?
Yeah.
And so that comes with its own fair share of like wow and pizzazz. And
Yeah.
I genuinely think there's something that like something we're working on that might have never been seen before on a flag football field.
Okay.
Then again, there's nothing new under the sun, so probably someone's done it somewhere.
And then sort of leading up in terms of prep, because we're going to blink and it's going to be like May, with competitions sort of coming up soon. Like, what does your schedule look like, sort of leading up to that, to like get you guys prepared?
Um, on a very serious note, I think the schedule is so packed. And just being frank, the schedule is still a bit vague to be precise. I think it's things are being worked on, potential trips, potential scrimmages, potential tournaments, but none of it is concrete yet. It's my hope that we get as many opportunities as possible to practice and play together before then. But then there's also a weird piece where, okay, so a natural thing is that a lot of national teams will go to international tournaments, Copenhagen Bowl, Big Bowl, King Bowl, all of these tournaments that I'm sure we're going to do plenty of shows in the run up to each of those. But um, if you take your national team to those tournaments, how much do you show? Do you know how much of your playbook do you actually use? Excuse me. Are you there to win? Are you there to play, to test things, to trial them, or like how much of it is it? And then that's playing against potentially like domestic teams and stuff.
Mm.
What happens if I know some teams have scrimmages against other national teams who are also in the World Championships? Again, like how much do you show? How much do you or do you play the long game and put stuff in that if people think that's what you do, then what you actually do, or is that just overthinking it? And are you playing,
No.
whatever? No, but I'm saying that it flag at the end of the day is super simple, right? It's just not like, but I think there's a potential to overthink it and overthink it and overthink it and overthink it. So there's a lot of kind of those questions. There's a lot of the unknown around everything. But I think the main thing going back to being at camp this weekend is it's good to have everyone back together and for that to be able to be like the focal point for everyone. Just kind of, the whole we're all we've got, we're all we need to do. Like I don't subscribe to that specifically, but
I mean, you
you
just
know.
said it, so.
No, again, no, no, no. I said it's an essence of that. It's not necessarily that
Mm,
that's where we're
mhm,
at, but
mhm, mhm.
that, you know,
That
it's all
sounds.
good. So yeah, no, it was good. It was good. It was good.
And so I guess off the back of that, I mean, there's this week, really, there's been the whole element of all the delegations essentially are out in Dusseldorf, kind of scouting the venue, checking out everything that's going on. Schedules have been seen, are getting released soon. So all that planning is really just kind of coming to fruition ultimately, like all those little details, which just makes it so fascinating. The trials are still going on. Some teams have announced, some teams have not announced who they're playing or who they're going to take to the World Championships this summer in Dusseldorf. And I know even for GB, we had camp the other week and we had like four different climates in one day, from hailstones to wind to sun to rain. But it's great to see a lot of the young talent that's coming up and through. And Coach Jack always says the best time to kill an alligator is after it eats. So for us, I know it's definitely just trying to stay on top of it and trying to make sure that we come out stronger than ever because our group of death is very real. We have a really, really tough group. So we know that we've got to perform to the highest ability. And that's an exciting time for us. So lots really going on in the
Just
flag world.
based on that idea, what would your preference be? Would you prefer to have a quote unquote easier
Easy
group
group.
that then leads to a difficult but potentially quite a challenging what would be if you come out if you're top two in your group, you go into the quarterfinals, right? Um, would you prefer a quote unquote easier group that leads to a difficult quarterfinal, or would you prefer a group of death, a more challenging group that potentially has an easier run through then in the playoffs?
I don't think it's going to get easier in the playoffs, but I think that the part of the reason is the familiarity in our group.
Mhm.
I mean, we
So,
play Osh. No, I'm saying in terms of like it being a group of death, I don't think it would be a problem if it was challenging, but we're playing teams that we play all the time. We're playing Austria, who we just won in overtime at the Euros. We're playing France, who we had to play twice in like incredible battles. And then we're playing China, who we pretty much played against and with so many different times, scrimmaged against them. I think it's tough when you've got three European groups, teams in the same group. Like, I think that's what makes that whole thing really challenging. So it's not a problem that it's a group of death. Like, and I don't think the challenge, I'd rather play hard teams and, we kind of are calloused going into the quarterfinals, semifinals, and all that. I just think it's the familiarity piece that makes it really tough.
So again, I totally appreciate that in terms of the group of death. The group is crazy. Like of all the groups in the world, that group is mental. I think maybe Group D is not even like Panama, Japan, Canada. This is talking about with the women's, side of all of this. Um, but it's more still the question remains, right? Quarterfinals. No disrespect to anyone, but would you rather have an easier group and then go and face the likes of USA, Mexico, or would you rather have a tough group and then potentially face a potentially weaker opponent or a lower ranked? Let me hide behind the ranking system. A
I
lower
don't
ranked opponent
think
in the quarterfinals.
I don't I mean a lower rank doesn't mean that it's about who you play on the day. You could play a higher ranked team and they don't perform. You can play a lower ranked team and they outperform because it's their Super Bowl,
Mhm.
and so I don't for me none of that really matters. You just play the team that's in front of you. And I hear what you're asking, but it doesn't matter if we're playing USA, Mexico, Canada, Austria, France, whoever, Spain, like we can only prepare and we can only be ready for the team in front of us. And if we're not ready for that team fundamentally and technique wise, well, like we're never going to be ready because like the attitude and the mentality that you carry into every game, I feel like that has a similar feel every time you enter into that battlefield, right? Like it's we have to be confident in ourselves and confident in our preparation. And so the confidence is what we're building right now. And so I'm hoping that whatever we're doing and the tough practices and everything else that goes around with it and part of that is around like now having tasks. And I know Yaz wants to talk in a sec, but like I do genuinely feel like I feel like right now GB is in a position women's wise where we have all of the help that we could need ultimately in front of us. So it's on us to lose it. It's on us to not take advantage of what's being given to us. And if we are to fail when we get to the worlds, it's it's not going to be because we aren't prepared, right? And that would be where I would get frustrated. Sorry, Yaz, go for it.
No, no, don't apologize. It's a good discussion because I was gonna hop off the back of sort of what you said about, lower rank preparation, etc. because I was looking at the groups, and I do think it's a really interesting choice that Group D is the only one not to have a European team in it, but all of the other groups seem to have European teams. And I know obviously it must have been sorted by like ranking, and they've obviously done some working and stuff like that. And it seems to me like it's almost unfair that so much of Europe has to play each other. But in saying that, that's only really Group C, which is your group, because Kenny's group, which is Group B for Spain. You've got USA, Australia, and can't remember the last country.
Kenny, can you remember?
Can you remember the last country?
Nigeria,
Where am I
Nigeria.
from?
I was like, why is he pointing at
I'm
himself?
putting
Okay,
where
and
am
I
I am with
this.
wild.
Because how do you feel about that? Because like ranking wise, arguably, like Australia and Nigeria, I mean, you can't predict how a team's going to perform, but competitive games, but ranking wise, probably not the same level as some of the European teams you've faced. Would that be fair to say?
I mean, the ranks state that very clearly. Like the ranks, is just so the way the the groups work is it's a snake. So the top four teams, A1 is the number one ranked team in the world, all the way to four, and then number five goes in D2, and then
Okay.
it snakes back to eight, so that A2 is the number eighth ranked team. So by
Right.
the time you get all the way back to whoever's in A4 is technically they're not actually the 16th ranked team,
Mm,
but the ranks go basically there were a number of spaces allotted to each continental. So
yeah.
Africa only had um
Slot.
one country exactly, and which Nigeria won because they won the continentals. I still think the whole Asia Oceania piece is a
Crazy.
travesty, but
Crazy.
it is what it is. Um because ultimately the chance is again, and this is no disrespect to those teams because people are working hard, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would never take away from that. We would never take away from that. But those teams are working hard to get, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, you cannot compare the pedigree of European football and the history there entailed there to what's happening in the African continentals or in the Oceania in particular. I think Japan has always been a strong showing for Asia. China
Mhm.
have kind of
Risen up.
shot through blistering pace out of nowhere, but then, you know,
Fox and the Hare.
yeah, was who's next? Who's next?
So
You
then,
know,
my question to you would then be like, how do you feel knowing that potentially your first game of the world champions could potentially be the USA, who are
uh,
two, right?
who are so they're ranked number two in the world. So I believe, if I'm right, I believe the normal way it happens is if in your group one to four, like in your group, essentially the first game is number one against number four.
So you'd be playing Australia first if the maths match.
Exactly, exactly. And then we would play Nigeria, and then USA would be the third game. It's done to kind of build a bit of, I believe. I could be wrong on that. It might be very different.
Imagine if they listen to this, they go, ha ha,
There you go. You heard it. No,
USA.
no. So I believe I believe I'm fairly sure the whole structure's already been done, set out, everything's been laid out. There was some unsureness, but there was some
Uncertainty.
questions, uncertainty. It was more questions, I think, whatever. But people about after group stages who was playing who.
Yeah.
But that's been cleared up. So it's if the A2A teams will play the two B teams, and the two C teams will play the two D teams.
Makes
Which
sense,
is
alphabet.
well, I kind of so, but from a ranking standpoint, okay, from a ranking standpoint, does it make more sense that A plays C and B plays D, and not just because as Spain we're trying to avoid Mexico or anything like that, but does but because
You
if
heard
you
it
look
here,
at the
folks.
if you look at the potential weighing
Yeah.
of each of the groups, for me, you've got the kind of two. But then again, is that the case? Is it the case that the A and Bs are higher strength wise than C's and D's? I don't know. Do you know that's
Depends on who shows up at the competition. Because you got to remember that also these rankings are made on teams that existed last season. Those teams don't necessarily exist this season. If people have retired, I hope not, but got injured, like
Mm,
left the
mm.
sport, changed sport. Maybe they don't get selected this time around. Maybe there's newer talent that. So like these rankings are great, but all of these rankings are done based on 2025. Like we're in 2026 now, we're in a different ball game. And there are a few of these um teams that are probably, doing a little bit of moving people around in positions as well. So, you don't know what you're facing. You're facing the US as the number two ranked, Mexico is number one ranked, but really there's only a couple of people that you'll probably expect to see there.
The only pushback I'll give is it would be interesting. I'm quite aware of it, but it'd be interesting to know how much change there has been in the world rankings in the last 5 years, right?
Mm,
Because even with China winning the Asian Championships, they are still technically the 13th team
yeah.
based on where they are 14th team,
But
technically. Again,
They're
so I'm
good.
just
no, absolutely. Sorry,
that's
sorry. Go on,
that,
please.
no, that's what I'm saying. So in terms of rankings, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
So
yeah. But I
China
would rebuttal that and I'd say, but in terms of funding in the last 5 years, who are the top five countries that would have got all the money to start this in the first place?
rumor has it it's Australia. Maybe, but
Ah!
no, I'm joking.
And
I'm joking. I
China.
don't know.
I say
China,
Australia,
China
China,
definitely. USA,
USA,
standard.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico.
I think
And
those are your
people know
top
like
four.
Olympics is about money. No, if
But
like if
that's
you
The
where,
business.
yeah, it's a business, but that's where it's so interesting, where kind of to Gaz's point, okay, so this summer, and I know we're diving into something that we'll be talking about closer to the time, but this summer, the teams that qualify, obviously apart from the US, are going to be going to the Olympics, right? Your top four, essentially, if you're saying US men's and US women's qualify. So you want three that are going. Well, what are those teams going to be like in 2 years' time? What does that mean from Olympic funding? Those teams kind of get a head start ultimately in terms of the funding that's going to come in. And
Yep.
then I understand the qualification period that's going to happen process after that. But that ultimately means if you're the other teams to make it to six, well, you don't actually know you're going to the Olympics until 2028.
It's crazy work.
Like, that's a really big difference in terms of what you can achieve. And I think that's why there's so much urgency and importance about being one of the teams that qualifies this summer. I just think it could not be a more important tournament to be a part of.
we just that's why I mean for as far as I'm concerned, we all have to be just Team Europe and do whatever we can to make sure if not,
It'd be cool if they made continental teams. Like I know obviously for the Olympics that would be vastly unfair because, like if you've got European countries and you turn around, you're like, sorry, we can only take 10 players. Ooh. But it'd be really cool if, like, long term, you could have, like, continental tournaments where you have a team Europe, like an all-star team. Bang. Like a
yeah, being
African.
flag, I don't think that's impossible to do. I mean,
I
you
don't think
could
so
just have
either.
like three teams from each continent, put
Mm.
together, and then that'd be a sick tournament. But I think that would be a one-off thing. That's not. But I'm saying like in terms of
Charity. What
we
the
need.
flag charity continental match? Watch this
Yeah.
space 2030, guys. 2030.
No, basically,
There,
we need the three European teams from Group C to qualify. Spain needs to qualify, and then we just have that run through to the top
Make
two.
sure we
But it's going to
trademark
be
that.
fun.
No one can take that idea. It came from here.
Heard here first. Heard here first. It's going to
well,
be
you've heard
fun.
it here first. We will be right back after this. Well, we're going to go into the rant of the week. And the rant of the week is more a bigger picture thing. When people are openly being scammed and they don't want to see through the rose-colored glasses. And when it's clearly a situation where a scam is occurring, mo money is being given, exchanged,
Oh,
love bombing is occurring. It's been a year. It's been a year, and it's still happening.
I feel
And
like details are needed. And also
well,
what is love
this,
bombing?
this person does believe they are in a relationship with Sandra Bullock. It's been happening for a long time. I don't know how to help. I'm not interested in helping, to be honest. When it could not be more clear, they met on Facebook.
Sandra
Um,
Bullock's on Facebook, yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I imagine they sent a message like, "Hi, it's me, Sandra."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's been like that. And we've tried to help, and that help is no longer able to take, I can't take it any further. You know what I'm saying? And
I think
sometimes
you
you
might
just gotta
be.
let people live.
Yeah.
Listen, this might be the like the I don't know the new age subscription type deal where you basically like you send money for love, but from that's a
There's an app you can do that with, right? Where you pay celebrities to like send you videos going, "Hi, happy birthday."
Cameo.
Yeah.
If you would like me to say happy birthday, Cameo.
oh
Phoebe Sandra Bullock. What? Who said that?
yeah what
What?
huh?
What? AI? Send it.
Do you know what
So
it is?
yeah,
It's probably one of those things where it's just easier for that person to just believe that it's Sandra
I
Bullock.
know.
I feel like they're
I
in
know.
so deep where
I
they can't
know.
like it's at this point you can't take off those glasses. The glasses have to stay firmly on because you put so much time, money, and you probably feel a bit silly, right? For
Yeah.
like believing it. So you just
Yeah.
have to be like, no, no, it's legit. It's real. We're getting married. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. But if I'm being honest, I feel like in this person's situation, there's probably equal scamming going on, so it's fine.
This is beneficial both
They
ways, we
kind of
get.
like cancel each other out, so it's fine.
Lord.
Guys,
Shout out.
maybe we're missing a trick.
Literally, we've been doing it wrong this whole time. So,
Damn.
yep, Sandra Bullock, if you're listening to this, make sure you let so and so know.
Yeah. And
Dude,
like and
hey,
subscribe while you're at it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
literally,
yeah. Please
literally.
share with all your
But hey,
followers.
egg on your face if Sandra is actually somewhere checking her Facebook on a regular basis, just asking for little bits of money every now and then just to keep her going between movies.
That's how
Shame
she
on
stays rich, man.
shame on you. Shame.
So, thanks to Touchdown Trips, we have continued on this great What the Flag journey. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, I know we've talked about kind of all the perks that come with things being an Olympic sport. And for Team GB, what's been super cool has actually been that we now have the task program, something that I wasn't entirely sure how it would go or how it all operated before being a part of it, but literally the benefits have been incredible. Like you really do feel like a professional athlete. You're basically offered everything, lifestyle coach, um, nutrition, S&C, physio, sports psychology, anything that you could need, they offer it, whether it's in person, online, and like just seeing how I'm able to, and like my teammates are able to implement that into everyday life is just really super cool. And I just think if this is just the first step to being a professional athlete and what the Olympics could look like, I mean, this is phenomenal because it made me start thinking about what could the professional league look like and
Mhm.
how exciting that could be for men and women, whenever that occurs, however many teams, there's so many unknowns around it. But I do think it's a super exciting time for flag football athletes.
Massively. It also just makes you think like what's the lead up going to look like for a athlete? Like do you all quit your jobs and like you spend, 8 weeks in a training camp and like leading up and then benefiting from all of those things. So I feel like it's very much it's one of those things you have to go in 100%. You can't just, oh, maybe I'll dabble in a bit of this and I'll dabble in a bit of that. I think it's something you have to take so seriously. And the fact that you have, a program that allows you to do that is something that so many athletes don't have access to. So it's definitely such an advantage in that sense.
Yeah, and Kenny, I mean, Spain, I just saw an announcement on social media with everything that's going on with them for support, right?
Where did you see that, Nigel?
Can you imagine?
No, no, yes, yes, yes. Addo scholarships. I think it may be similar to what you described with TAS, I guess. But it's kind of more, you know how like the National Lottery here in the UK funds sometimes they link it. I think it's a bit like that, or from what I could understand of it. My Spanish isn't my corporate Spanish isn't good enough yet to understand fully everything, but it's more like private companies, who are putting money in to fund this program for Olympics, athletes. But it's really cool because on the website, like every coach who receives excuse me, sorry, every player and coach who receives the scholarship or the fund or whatever is like listed out there, and it's not actually that many that many people. So it's a select few, but they're doing some really good work, it seems. There's more to be found out, more to be discovered. But I think that the journey into this unknown professionalism of the sport, is very interesting, and like I think really and truly we are, like, all of us who are watching, the community is all at the cutting edge of it. We're all at the crest of that wave, because what I can't I'm really trying to think of any other sport or organization that has launched something similar to what we're talking about in the pro leagues. But naturally, I think one of the biggest parts of it is always education, right? My two pillars: education and communication. Anyone that's ever worked with me from a coaching standpoint knows that those two things, like what we're teaching, how we teach it, right? And how we get the message across, I mean. But it's like, before people can become professional in flag, people have to have a good enough understanding. You can't have amateurs playing at being professional athletes in flag football. I think it will quickly come a cropper. So it's really interesting to see how the Avengers are being built in their different areas before they're slowly coming together, to assemble, as it were. It's exciting. I think it's going to be good, but with the funding that comes in and the different ways that happens, with the education, the knowledge, the expertise that comes in, and the different ways that happens. Tom Brady, after the Fanatics Flag Championships, Classic, sorry, the Fanatics Flag Football Classic, did say, he made a comment around, feeling maybe there was some changes, adaptations that could be made to align the fives that they played, IFAF rules, to sevens, which is more akin to. So is this Pro League going to be IFAF rules? Is it going to be sevens? Is it going to be some mixture? There are still a great many questions, I feel, out there in the public. And I know, like, people are working on this stuff already. It's clear that it's not like the questions are still sitting there, still working on it, and it just depends on what will happen, how it grows, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it pretty exhilarating to think what the future could look like for a pro league, where it's based, how many athletes, like what does all that look for? I feel like it's a really big undertaking, but obviously you've got the support of the NFL, and so that's huge. Tomorrow Sports, I'm sure, are only going to do the best. I mean, you look at the people who are involved in that organization, and it's just top tier. Tiger Woods. I think they've just done a golf as well in terms of women's golf that they've, done professionally. I mean, it's just a really, really exciting time for the sport. I mean, even today I saw that the NFL and IFAF teamed up to give every school in Australia flag belts. I mean, that is no small feat, no small undertaking. You think of like the way that that can change a lot of these young people's lives. And, Kenny talked about Australia earlier and the money that's going to him, but I think they're going to be a really different team. They kind of took a different attitude towards, well, we're going to make sure that we've got athletes. And I know Deanna Flores and Pierre Touche are out there now with Roger Goodell, kind of, doing a kind of intro to Flag Day. And that's huge. That's a really exciting time for the sport and for the growth of flag football.
I will say it's a really nice thing to see in education as well. Like, obviously, I know the Australian system is a little bit different, but it's so nice to see something new being implemented into like the physical side of education. There's so many, it's really easy to fall into cliches of we're going to play football, we're going to play netball, we're going to play basketball. And as important as all of those sports are, and there are those opportunities, it's also really nice that there's something new and funded that's hitting schools for, like sort of grassroots to begin properly and fully funded. So like it's accessible to everyone. Because think about all the different backgrounds that you're, reaching when you're going to just, a mainstream school. It's really nice to see.
We can't all. So I'm embracing the call it the cynicism that comes with age, but obviously, knowing that, friends of ours like Russ Hewitt has been out in Australia for a number of years. doing exactly this work, you know? I don't, sorry, to be clear, I think it is a good thing and it's great that it's improved accessibility, but I don't think it's like brand new, like it's not
No,
right.
I'm talking
But
about brand
also
new to a curriculum.
still, I don't, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's brand new. I think it's maybe not as popular as Aussie rules or and so on and so forth. But I think the other part of it is it's clearly got to be a push in order to make sure flag stays in the Olympics for 2032, and that's the bigger thing I think that's operating behind the scenes here, where it's like flag needs to be understood by the majority in Australia. Flag needs to be a thing, and there needs to be a commitment to it by Australia. So, because after USA, it's Australia, and if flag is going to be continue to be a part of the Olympics, hopefully bigger, hopefully more teams, hopefully more people play, etc. It makes a lot of sense. So my thing is it doesn't matter how the good comes about for the kids as long as it is good for them. So having the equipment in all the schools, having access to it, making sure the resources, the understanding is there. But my normal standard um drive quest, is just make it sustainable. Make sure that there's stuff to carry on doing beyond the initial taster days, beyond the initial sessions, so that like that kid wants to play, there's somewhere for them to go. And if those places don't exist yet, it's about like creating those spaces and making sure that they're there and available, which, I'm sure people are working towards that. Shout Bart. Bart played for London Rebels way back when, or with London Rebels, I should say, in Australia. Can I remember his surname? Embarrassing, but yeah.
And I guess for other things coming up now, and as we're talking about the growth of the game, um, upcoming is the Fiesta Bowl. So that's normally a college-based event and bowl game every year. This is the first year the foundation has done Div 1 women's flag teams. So 8 different teams are going to compete, not this weekend, following weekend, the 17th through the 20th, I want to say. And this is going to be incredible, like huge stage. ESPNU is going to cover the championship games. And this is really like the kind of first taste of what bowl games could look like for women's flag football at the collegiate Div 1 level. So this is a pretty exciting time for that as well. I mean, this is just going to keep going up and up and up ultimately.
Absolutely. And I think it's the people are on the lookout already for who those players are going to be in those pro leagues, who are those players who are going to be taking football forward, because as much as we know some familiar faces, there are still arguably not enough people able to carry that baton, able to carry that torch and be truly representative of every corner of the world, So that's the aim. Like, how do we keep pushing? How do we keep growing? But ultimately, I think the work and the good work continues. Like, and that's just what it has to be. And speaking of which, I'm gonna a shameless plug here. Heir to the Throne is linking in with We Run the World, is linking in with
Girls.
King Bowl, right, to do an all-female clinic the Friday of King Bowl. So this is just a kind of mini ad, mini shout out. I saw the jersey designs came through yesterday, and I'm not being funny, but if I were you, I would do whatever I could to get my hand on one of those jerseys, which is to register for the camp on the Friday, and you get the jersey as a part of that. So, shameless plug, plugged, done.
And we love it. And we love it. And just like that, I think that's a nice way to kind of wrap up where we are. Anybody else got anything more to add before we put a bow on this bad boy?
Oh, it's going on.
I'm going to put on my social media, not for now. I'm going to put on my social media. So if you see it, I'm going to wait till this episode goes out. But if you see it, please comment. Why do we do 40-yard dashes at national program tryouts? Like it's a real thing. But I don't really, well, maybe it's something we can come about. We can talk about in the next episode. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Real bugbear of mine. But yeah.
Rant of the week.
Yeah, next week's rant of the week. So if you got something to say, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, and stay tuned for more What the Flag next week.